Hi everyone. This video is about the full moon in Gemini, which is here at 13 degrees of Gemini, and the sun is at 13 degrees of Sagittarius. And this full moon is squaring the lunar nodes, which are at 13 degrees as well. 13 of Virgo, and here 13 of Pisces. 13, 13, 13, 13. So for me, my first impression when I saw this chart of this full moon on the 4th of December, yeah, I thought of like a headache. That's the word that came to my mind. And also when I just looked at it, I just felt like, yeah, a headache. So yeah, this is what I'm going to talk about. This full moon is about scoops, Gemini, being tricked and being a trickster. It's about news and revelations. So this full moon is linked to the eclipse of the 7th of September. There was a full moon eclipse at 15 of Pisces, and the node was there at 18 of Pisces. So think back in your head what the theme was at that time in the Pisces house of your chart. Because as you can see, now we are feeling, the effect of this eclipse, because it's like it's being ignited, it's being triggered again. So if we put the eclipse here and the full moon of today on the outside, so inside here it's where we had the eclipse in September 7 at 15 of Pisces. And now, as we can see, the full moon is here in Gemini at 13. So it's squaring and it's triggering. And also the north node now is gone closer to 15. At the time of the eclipse, Saturn was retrograde. Now Saturn is direct. So what I mean is that at the end of the day, just think those two, what happened there, what happened at that time in September and what is happening now, it is linked. So for example, for me at that time, because this was like a good vibe, eclipse in Pisces, there was a lot of good feelings, and we were talking about there was Jupiter that was trining it. And then there was a another eclipse at 29 of Virgo, which was harsher. And sometimes uh, they turned sour. Things didn't turn out as great. Like, for example, me at that time, I thought I was going to have a conclusion. This is in my house of my career, in my 10th house. I was optimistic, and then something unexpected at the over eclipse happened, and all the plan went down. And now, for me, what's happening as a Gemini? So, this full moon is triggering my 10th house again, and now I am dealing with the same theme that I had back in September. I was thinking that thing is going to resolve itself in my 10th house. And other things happened since, but now with this full moon eclipse, I'm finding myself that I have to deal with it now. The crisis is triggered again in my 10th house. So same for you. Uh, Whatever was going on in September, now it's coming back, and now we have to find some closure. Right, so Gemini is ruled by Mercury. Mercury is here at 22 of Scorpio. Mercury is the messenger of the gods. Mercury has two sides, a dark side and a light side, depending on who he hangs out with. So Gemini, it is genderless, it is versatile and fast to make the switch between multiple roles. Gemini is about fact gathering, logic, duality, being two-faced, being chatty and also superficial. So I'm a Gemini, so ascendant. So I guess I can say that Gemini is about superficiality. Like if you're a Gemini ascendant, at first, what people say about you, it's not, that's why the ascendant is like our mask that we put, the front that we put on. So if you're ascendant Gemini, you might appear being very sociable and very chatty. But for example, me, I've got a lot of Cancer in my chart. Actually, if someone knows me, I'm more like withdrawn and yeah. So Gemini can appear superficial. That's what I'm trying to say. It's a mutable air sign. It connects and communicates information. Its energy is flexible and adaptable, but it can be scattered and nervous. So Mercury, who rules Gemini, is ruling this full moon. This means that if you have anything around here 22 of Scorpio, like from like tw I don't know 19, to like 25 of Scorpio, or anything around 13 of Gemini. Same thing, just add 5 degrees in both sides. And the same if you have anything around 13 of Virgo, 13 of Pisces, then that means that you are going to be most affected, whoever has any planet and point on this axis of the mutable signs. It means that this week for you, this can be a turnaround week. Some kind of huge event can happen. Also, because Gemini rules the lungs, this can be a good time for example, to stop smoking. If you wanted to stop smoking, then now it could be the climax, and you're like, I'm finally going to do something about it. Otherwise, the Gemini Sagittarius axis, Gemini here, Sagittarius opposite Gemini. Yeah, like that represents Gemini, the third house energy, and Sagittarius, the ninth house energy. And these are about education, publishing, truth, teachers, foreign affairs, long distance travel, and short trips in your neighborhood. Your neighbors, students, the media, journalists, reporters, international matters. So all these topics are now activated. So as you can see, this full moon is squaring the nodes, like I think I just said, 13, 13, 13, 13. Gemini, Virgo, Sagittarius, Pisces. So that's a mutable square. It's called a grand cross. So that means that we are pulled in 4 directions. That's why it's like a cross. This line here, and then another line across. Yeah, we are pulled in four different directions. Also, this full moon is aspecting Mars. You see, Mars is here at 22 of Sagittarius. So the Sun is coming onto Mars, is applying a conjunction. The Moon is also coming to an opposition with Mars, right? So this full moon has a Mars feel to it. There's a lot of activity around us because not only it's mutable, it's about things that are moving, change that's happening quickly, and now Mars is firing up this energy as well. The good news is that Saturn and Mercury, which Mercury is coming onto a trine to Saturn, and those two, they are now direct. So that means that now we know what decision to make. Okay, so Mars here at 22 of Sagittarius, Mars and Saturn, they will square exactly on the 8th of December. And so their meeting is causing us some tension, some frustration, an inner struggle of a feeling of push and pull, of stop and go. Mars square Saturn. So you want to do something, but then you have to stop. Because Mars is a planet that brings battles, problems to solve, and things that need to be done. Mars is also about war, how we assert ourselves and our actions. So if you have Mars square Saturn, like myself, in your chart, then most likely you will be feeling this right now. And also, if you have Mars actually aspecting Saturn in your chart, if it aspect, even if you have in opposition, if you have a conjunction, if you have a trine, if you have any, Mars Saturn aspect, then you will feel this more. So, right. If you have a positive aspect like a sextile or trine from Mars to Saturn in your chart, then it will manifest for you into an easier way. If you have a hard aspect, then you will feel the hard aspect. Because, any transit, the transit can only bring you what your chart can bring you. That's why, when people do like monthly sign by sign, or if you just look at like transit, it's not realistic. You have to apply it to your own chart, your own energy. It's like there's no point trying to copy someone else. You just have your own unique signature of your unique self. And that's why, you have to see how a transit is going to plug in your chart to see how you're going to feel it. It's not everyone with the same ascendant or the same aspect that is going to behave differently. Anyhow, that's another conversation that. Yeah, now I'm saying that Mars is in Sagittarius. Mars in Sagittarius is here at 22, is about fighting for our belief. It's also very opinionated, and Mars in Sagittarius strongly feel like he is right. It's like I'm right, I know, and this is what we are pushing for, our way of thinking. So beware with Mars applying to the square to Saturn, and also after that, Mars is also going to square Neptune. Right. So that means that it's best to not impulsively or over optimistically push for freedom too soon. Otherwise, we might fall on our face because we might, you know, be overexcited about something and think that we are doing the right thing. In Sagittarius, like, oh, let's go for it, let's do it now. And then there's going to be, there could be consequences with Saturn, and then with Neptune, like we might realize that actually we just didn't see clearly what we were doing. So also with the full moon approaching Mars, the full moon like at 13, Mars is here at 22, so it's moving forward, then it's going to opposite and meet with Mars. So we feel like taking action. There is a lot of mental activity in Gemini, in Virgo. There's a lot of mental activity and a lot of mental overload as we are pulled in many directions at once. We collected all the facts and we got our karmic score with Saturn. A decision is now reached. Plus, we have the inspiration and intuition in Sagittarius to know about what to do next. So this can be seen as Mars is pushing against Saturn for clarity. Mars is forcing for the truth to be known. A demand is being made. The plan must happen. Saturn direct is showing us a cold, hard truth. And whether we like it or not, there is no denying or getting around it. It is what it is. So, for example, if you're a Virgo, this is in your seventh house, and it can be about a long-time relationship. Something you didn't want to see about someone is now too obvious to avoid. For Gemini, it's in your 10th house of career. So the same thing can happen about your job in your 10th house or about what you see as your mission in life. And then for Gemini, it's important for you because the full moon is in your first house or on your ascendant. So the ascendant, and it's to do with your personal appearance, your brand, your image, your profile, your public face, your reputation, and how you are seen, how you project yourself. Can also be about your health, your body, and how you present and package yourself to others, Gemini. And then if you're a Sagittarius, this full moon is in your fourth house. So for you, it could be same like a realization, you know, about a family member or a home situation, and so on. So I'm just saying the mutable sign because we know these are the people that are going to be the most impacted, especially if you have your ascendant, your moon, or your sun in those four mutable signs. And yes, so at this full moon in Gemini, we can't change the truth to appease our ego or our sweet memories. Saturn is saying the truth is what the truth is. Yeah, Saturn is karmic. So as we are going on a spiritual mission with Mars in Sagittarius to follow our purpose for humanity, that's Jupiter in Cancer. Nobody is coming to save us, so we have to be practical and realistic, Saturn, about how we are going to proceed in dealing with this disappointing truth that has become too big to pretend. Yeah, that has become too big to keep pretending that it is not real. On the upside, thankfully, both Mercury and Saturn, like I said, they are both direct. This eases any heaviness that was felt. And what what was stuck, stagnating, or lacking is now moving. It's getting some momentum here and here. Frustrating confusion and delays can now be tackled in order to make it through into the new year, into 2026, and also in order to make it through to the end of this year, when the new will finally be on the horizon. The new will be on the horizon, as we all know, when both Saturn and Neptune will be at 0 degrees of Aries. I think it's in February, like I said before, and many astrologers have said. So as we know that this full moon is already mentally overwhelming, there is no need yet to, talk right now about February and what will happen at this new beginning. For now, Mercury is important because it's the ruler of this full moon in Gemini, and Mercury is now direct, and at least it's welcomed because it adds clarity, which is, well, it's much needed now in all the midst of this confusion. Even if we don't like the information that surfaced from the shadows, now we are on more stable ground, and we can brainstorm about what will replace what we thought will last forever. But it is now gone, or it is just a self disillusion. Because we know it, we sense it, we feel it, we see like something for all of us in the house Pisces of our chart is definitely on its way out, or is definitely already gone. Uh, and now we are thinking, what next step will fill the void and how to rebuild from the ashes. So with the Pisces energy, it's good to keep in mind that any sense of void or aloneness signifies a lack of spiritual foundation in life. Because Pisces is the element of water, which relates to emotions. And with the North Node in Pisces, which enforces the lesson that nothing will fill an inner void better than a relationship with universal source. That's why Pisces, the shadow of Pisces can also be, addictions. Because at the end of the day, when we have an addiction, any addiction, isn't it? If even simple things like eating or nicotine, which we think is quite harmless, it's just because we are feeling this void. We just put that thing into our mouth, isn't it? Or over addictions which get you high and out of your mind, like drinking and drugs, isn't it? It's just we are seeking some kind of some comfort, some into some delusions. Like that's why some people with certain drugs, it's like you feel, oh, I love everyone, and it's just that delusion of um, unconditional love. So the goal is obviously to find the same connection, the same feeling of unconditional love with the universe, with the cosmos, to find the God within. So coming back to this full moon, on the bright side, like I said, Mercury, who is ruling this full moon, is now in Scorpio. And the good news is that it's triggering for the last time this water ground trine that I've spoke about before. And Mercury is moving forward, so it's going to trine again with Jupiter in Cancer. Mercury is going to trine again with Saturn, and after with Neptune in Pisces. And Yeah, so this is something that is soothing because Mercury is going to touch Jupiter, which is our protector. Mercury is in Scorpio, and Scorpio is symbolized by a snake or an eagle. Since Scorpio can be either the most evil, cruel, revengeful, envious, or jealous, or it can be as magical as God. So, for example, I had a stalker who was heavy on Scorpionic signature in their chart. But then on the other side, I also had one of my most evolved and wisest, like most knowledgeable in metaphysics teacher that I ever had. And she also has a Mars in Scorpio, Sun in Scorpio, and she's got like a eight house Scorpio stellium. So and then yeah, and for me like that's the best teacher I think I would have had so far in my life. So and then and that was a Scorpio energy. So yeah, the thing I'm trying to say is that with Scorpio, expect all or nothing. No like shades of gray. Yeah, and also I'm thinking for anyone this relates to that if someone is obsessed with being famous and then the sun is in the 12th house, know that the 12th house, the more you try to control it, the less it will happen. So when you have planet in your 12th house, you have to surrender. That's what the 12th house is about. And also if someone is obsessed with being famous and a celebrity at all costs, that they would do evil for that, then I spoke about this earlier. That means that surely that person has a inner void and that they need to fill. So, yeah, anyway, I'm going back to the topic of today and I'm saying that Mercury in Scorpio still needs to oppose Uranus. So yeah, Mercury is at 22 of Scorpio, Uranus is at 28 of Taurus, and you can see that the opposition is applying, meaning it's going to be soon exact. So think back about what happened, I think it was on the 19th of November, when Mercury retrograde also opposed Uranus at that time. Because those two events, what happened on the 19th of November and what happened at this full moon, what happened when Mercury is going to be opposite Uranus again. These two events are linked. So I've checked, and now I was talking about this opposition with Mercury and Uranus. And so last time that this happened, it was on the 19th of November when Mercury here retrograde was opposite Uranus in 29. Now, this will happen again when Mercury is direct on the 10th of December, like next week. Mercury is here at 28 of Scorpio and Uranus is here at 28 of Scorpio. So 19th of November, 10th of December, these events are linked. So watch out because that's the point of the astrology. So you can see what happened before and then you see what happened later. If you know what I mean. And Mercury opposite Uranus is fickle, erratic kind of energy. So at that time, it's probably best advised to stick on Saturn's side with a cautious long-term plan towards increased freedom and authenticity. rather than with Mars in Sagittarius, rather than jump ship suddenly, like taking a foolish leap of faith or a gamble. Because instead, Saturn likes us to do the thing that we do not want to do. Keep in mind with Saturn, there are no shortcuts to anything worth having or being. Saturn is about hard work equals great rewards. And with Mercury, this good news about the groundwater trine. Mercury that will trine Neptune. Neptune that will be stationing at that time on the 10th of December. Uh, this means that all of us are now having our own kind of haha moment coming to us via the ether, via the astral plane. We are having access to an intense clarity and to profound levels of truth that we didn't realize existed. And this is why it's worth looking at the full moon Sabian symbol. This full moon is at 13. So the Sabian symbol, that means we have to look at 14. Anyhow, the point, this is the one I'm looking. Rudyard. So the Sabian symbol for this full moon is a conversation by telepathy. Keyword intimation. Bridging physical space and social distinctions. Two men communicate telepathically. Telepathically, bridging physical space. So, yeah, and the North Node is in Pisces. So, if you look at the Sabian symbols, then you can see the theme of Pisces. Although this full moon is in Gemini, which is about logic. So, with this with this Saturn and Neptune that I just talked about at this last degrees of Pisces, this is the end of an epoch because it is rare, and Saturn and Neptune at the last degrees of the last sign of the zodiac. We are now seeing how Saturn direct is distributing some long overdue hellish karma to those who deserve it, those corrupted who exploit poor people, those in power who misuse it by taking advantage of young women. Many injustices are now being released and realized. And thanks to Saturn direct, the justice is now being served. And the light is exposing how it's the most privileged, who rarely had to struggle in life, who are the most judgmental and in denial. So, for example, as a French person, I have to talk about how coincidentally, when Saturn was stationing to go direct, we seen in the news the ex-French president Nicolas Sarkozy, who has been convicted for the second time to a jail sentence. So he was in jail, and then after he was out of jail for just 1 week, he was again, you know, convicted. He was guilty again for another crime. However, as we know that for rich people, the rules aren't the same as they are for us. So he won't be going back to jail like he should. This is an example, of Saturn, because nonetheless, this is the end of the road for him, for all those who have been openly racist and ignorant. Saturn, on its last pass in late Pisces, is finishing up the job of showing people true colors. Without any doubt, we now see them exactly as they really are. We are seeing the bad and the good ones also. The good ones now also can get credit, and credit now can be given where it is long overdue. Because Uranus shocks, and many planets have recently been opposing it. Because as you can see, there is now a stellium in Sagittarius, Mars is here, Sun is here, Venus is here at 5. So that means that those 3 planets, they have crossed over Uranus. And now the last one to do it is going to be, like I just said, Mercury. Uranus is here at 28. So this shows that we changed our minds. Some people have altered their positions as a consequence of the realizations and the clarity that we have gotten from Saturn. Right now we have seen a different perspective. Some situation and relationships will make or break because of new insights and new perspective on the reality of things, which we didn't want to see or we didn't know before. All is now exposed. Right. Also, there is a mutable grand cross, like I said. Mutable grand cross is when in the 4 mutable signs, 4 planets or points and square each other. So the moon is squaring the south node and the north node. The moon, because we know at the full moon, is opposing the sun, and then therefore same for the sun, we're squaring the node in south node in Virgo and the north node in Pisces, opposite the moon. So this is a mutable grand cross at this full moon. Even if Mercury is direct, we are pulled in 4 directions at once. You see it? Right. Plus the moon is exactly square the lunar nodes, like I just said. So that means that this is an intense crossroads energy. Like now, many of us are feeling at crossroads. Myself included, because I'm a ascendant in Gemini, and then I have some planets near the south node. And I can say my home situation and my career situation, my job situation is, yeah, it's in crisis. It's closing. So anyway, I already said that how to look for yourself. Uh, how do we handle then? How do we handle what we are required to relearn and redo from scratch? Now that something has ended with this mutable energy that can be chaotic. Pisces, when it gets chaotic, it can get confusing. And under crisis, Virgo can become oversensitive, critical, and insecure, especially if it's lost in analyzing too many small details. So the question is how to exit the squares of this cross, as to take care of the crisis and to take care of our own nervous system and avoid a health crisis or a mental overload. So what you can do is look for trines That would be from this full moon. Libra or Aquarius, from the sun here. Leo or Aries. Look for trines or sextile to your planets. So if you have anything in Leo or Aries, for example, there's a lot of exit points. If you have something in Libra, I said it, or Aquarius. I mean, yeah. Uh, yeah, so look for trines or sextile to your planets or points or angles, ascendant and midheaven in your chart, and then focus on that. So, for example, I can talk for myself. So you see that I'm ascendant here on Gemini, and then I have this Virgo of Mercury and Venus here. So, and I have Jupiter and Uranus. So I'm feeling the mutable square, isn't it? So I show this to show that myself, what seems to work for me is I'm focusing on my sun right now, and I'm planning this the sun in my fourth house of my roots, or where I come from, of my home. And for me, without going into details, how I'm going to resolve uh, these issues that I'm having in Pisces and Virgo mostly is because I'm going to go back to my country in France, because I've been in the UK for over 20 years now, and I have a plan that once I'm going to go back to France. And yeah, a lot of my issues, are going to be resolved. That's the overall picture. So you see that from this full moon with you at 13, it's exactly sextile my sun at 13. And for me, this is the exit point out of this crisis, if that can help you. Also, what we can do at this time is to calm down the chatter in our mind. See what decision needs to be made in the Gemini Sagittarius axis of your life. I did say the topic of those signs earlier at the beginning of this video, if you wonder what this is about for you. So this can be a positive news that unexpectedly arrived. So it doesn't have to be all, stressful and doom and gloom. There's also going to be some positive into it. Even I had some positive out of it. Or it could be a missing piece in your plan that you have discovered, especially now that some planet went direct again. You see the truth that you couldn't see before about a situation. So what's good overall with this full moon is that, yeah, we know what to do, and we have some facts that we didn't have before. And although this is a crisis, now we know what to do. We know how we're going to get there. So it's not that bad, to be fair. Virgo plus Gemini is also about health news, such as releasing being held back by details, discrimination or lack of discernment, or simply about letting go of being nitpicky and seeing the big picture instead. Sagittarius is about seeing the big picture, and Virgo, yeah, can be lost in the details. So keep that in mind. Following your intuition towards what inspires your spirit, while aiming for the compassion and empathy needed to forgive ourselves and others. Pisces. Yeah, so I was saying, aiming for the compassion and empathy needed to forgive ourselves and others in order to integrate new information and to keep learning about ourselves and our purpose, which brings us vitality. This is the theme of these four mutable signs. So, overall, to conclude, we can say that there is light at the end of the tunnel, at the end of the tunnel. Most people think that the number 13 is a bad luck number, but 13 represents hidden knowledge. It is an occult number. It's like when a black cat crosses your path. That is not bad luck. Mystically, it means you are about to have a spiritual experience. So we should keep in mind that God has a higher plan and a wise vision for our lives. Everything always works itself out for our highest good, in the end. All will be well. No need to panic. Stay calm. Stay the course by hanging onto the fixity in your chart, in your life. So let's be grateful for all the wisdom that we have and all the blessings that we have in our life and see the bright side. So thank you for watching my video. If you like to know more about me, you can check the link below this video in the description and go on my website and also see my astrology services. And then I'll speak to you another time soon. Take care. Bye for now.